Hey, gorgeous people. I'm Alexandra Blair. Welcome to my Monday morning coffee chat show where we talk about everything happening under the sun through art, archetype, and story and the personal mythologies you're already living. We work really hard to drag astrology out of the dry, dusty old textbooks and breathe life into it and bring it into the real time unfolding magic of your messy, magical, unfinished real life. This week is a little bit of a plot twist. Buckle up, folks. We're going to get into that. We've got Mercury entering Gemini, an incredible new moon in Gemini with Jupiter co-present. We've got a Mercury cazimi and a Mercury Pluto trine. We're going to break it all down and more. But before we dive in, I want to give a shout out to everybody who leaves comments on my YouTube videos, comments on my Instagram, DMs me, sends me emails. Your guys' insights really bring the astrology to life. I can do my best to feel into these transits and to say what I'm seeing in the signs, but hearing from you guys how it's all playing out really brings things into real life, which is our goal here. First things first, I want to review some of my favorite comments from my YouTube video last week. I posted my excellent interview with Hugh Tran, such a talented astrologer, and I really loved the conversation we had, and you guys did too. So thank you so much for your comments. We have Gem Astrology saying, this quote, those who are older did not adequately prepare me for the world I was about to enter, which is something I think Hugh was really speaking to. Jem says, oof, first gen problems. Thank you, Hugh, for making this connection. And thank you, Alexandra, for this fantastic soggy milk toast episode, which brings me to a whole category of comments that I received about my fantastic soggy milk toast astrology show in reference to a comment that somebody left me that I thought was really funny and not so kind spirited. My dearest friend Whitney at Astro Arcana Astrology says, lol, have trolls never heard of French toast because soggy milk toast is actually a delicacy called French toast? And that's what your show is. A delicacy. Well, thank you, Whitney. I'm biased, but I happen to agree. Narissa Allen 9712 also says, as opposed to soggy milk toast, your content and presence to me is a lightly toasted slice of fresh baked multigrain bread with fresh fruit preserves and whipped butter, all homemade and organic. This content that I dine on is fresh, nourishing, and luscious. Keep up the inspired work. I'm going to print these and put them under my pillow. Thank you guys so much for all of the support and the fun and for keeping it kind and lighthearted in the comments because the world is weird enough. Alex McPherson 8993 has my favorite comment. Alex McPherson says, apologies, don't mean to correct, but wanted to point out that while the Latin word pater, meaning father, is the root for many words relating to fathers and family, it is not the direct root for the word pattern. The word pattern comes from the Latin word patronus, which originally meant protector or defender. Patronus itself is derived from pater, but the connection to pattern. I'm a linguist. Please don't shoot the messenger. Much love. Well, I'm definitely not going to shoot you. I love being corrected because it means that I've learned something new. I think this comment is in regards to a badly paraphrased piece of one of Adam Allen Boss's Hellenistic astrology lectures that I sort of garbled talking to Hugh. So I actually really appreciate having the foundation reinserted underneath my words with this one. Thank you, Alex McPherson. All right, let's get into it. Here are our transits for the week. On May 25th, we have Mercury entering Gemini. On May 26th, the very next day, we have a new moon at 6 degrees Gemini. Very cute new moon. On the 27th, Mercury will perfect its trine to Pluto in Aquarius. And on May 29th, we have the sun conjoining Mercury. That is called a Mercury cazimi when Mercury is in the heart of the sun. And that is going to be happening at 9 degrees Gemini. Now, the rest of the week, we have a little bit of a chill time, and next week is also pretty calm. Things really start rolling when Jupiter enters Cancer on June 9th. I absolutely adore this week of astrology. Now, I'm a Gemini, so I'm biased, but this week is a beautiful little plot twist. That's what I said before, and now I'm going to tell you why. We are in Gemini territory. Mercury has entered its home sign. The new moon arrives, then Mercury trines Pluto. And then by midweek, we have a beautiful little Mercury cazimi in Gemini, where Mercury will be sitting in the heart of the sun, directly conjunct the sun. This is such a special little plot twist because it's asking us to consider what if every difficult thing I have been through in the very difficult astrology of recent memory, what if every difficult thing I've been through wasn't a punishment personally for me? What if instead it was an elaborate setup to a joke that you are now in on, to a plot twist that you are now the star of? This is such powerful, like revelatory energy, but not in the Uranian way, not in the galaxy brain way. It is winking at the camera, breaking the fourth wall. It is Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka coming out with a cane and looking all dark and intense, and then lurching forward into a somersault, much to everyone's surprise and delight. This week is the Kaiser Soze reveal moment.
Who is Kaiser Soze?
It's the Knives Out moment, the monologue that reveals the whole story. It's the Ocean's 11, like, how is it possible everything's gone wrong, but they were 3 steps ahead of us the whole time? Something is clicking for us this week. Not everything, but enough. And it could be enough of a mindset shift to shift the frame. Again, what if all this suffering I've been through actually is leading to something really important that I can be optimistic and earnest about? It's like some of those episodes of Atlanta or Get Out, like these films and shows that really flip the script and turn genres on their heads. And the choices that we make this week, but especially when Jupiter comes into Cancer in 2 weeks, but the choices that we make here might actually serve to help clarify for us what the hell all of that pressure and stuckness and stagnation was for. So since early 2023, Saturn has been in Pisces, squaring the stuff happening in Gemini, squaring the stuff happening in Sagittarius, opposing the stuff happening in Virgo. Mutable placements, the mutable signs where we are the most used to being flexible, to being adaptable, to encountering a boundary and sort of limboing our way right underneath it. We have all been hit by the laser beam of Saturn's stagnation and this request, demand from Saturn to sit still and to sit in something and to figure it out. Now, this week, we actually are going to get the opportunity with Saturn out of Pisces to have a Gemini new moon where we get to say whether we were in on the joke all along, or maybe we weren't in on it all along, but we want to be in on it now, and that's just as good. So, this Gemini moment really is not here to test you. It's here as an opportunity to use the things you've learned. What do you know now that you couldn't have known without Saturn in Pisces this whole time, squaring everything or opposing everything we have in the mutable signs? What do we know now, and how can we use that? This is actually totally making me think of Mercury through the tarot archetypes. Because Mercury rules this lunation and everything's all about Mercury and Gemini this week, I think about Mercury and I think about the Fool card. I think about the Magician card. This week also a little bit is like the Hanged Man. And you can see how I'm arguing that different levels of agency and different levels of optimism and choosing to see the good in something are going to lead to those 3 different outcomes. So there's a possibility that if you want to carry on with your bad self and all kinds of suffering and pessimism, that you can walk absolutely blissfully unawares over the edge of a cliff, much like the Fool threatens to do in his tarot card. The Magician, on the other hand, uses life experiences, uses agency to direct his will and to actually activate change and alchemize suffering into strength. The Hanged Man, on the other hand, that's a little bit more of that Gene Wilder somersault energy where we are really winking at the audience and saying, am I suffering or am I not? Now, obviously, each of those cards has a lot more depth than we're covering here, but this week holds the potential for any one of those 3 outcomes. It is not about anything other than your own willingness to decide you want things to be different. Now, I'm not talking about like manifesting your dream life or calling that in. I'm just saying you can decide this week, right here and now, that the difficult things that you may have been through, particularly the past 18 months, but hey, it's been tough since that global event that happened a few years back. You can decide right here and now this week to use this new moon in Gemini to say, I am alchemizing all of that pain into a different version of me. You could even just say, hey, I'm going to try to find humor in these situations that have not seemed very funny. So speak carefully, think symbolically, think in circles and riddles and rhythms. Don't forget that Jupiter is still present in Gemini, and that Jupiter in Gemini, she's incoherent, baby. She's incoherent. I am so freaking ready for Jupiter to get out of Gemini, but it's still here. And with Mercury in Gemini, it's a lot more clear than it has been. And in fact, we have a really cool, badass Jupiter Mercury conjunction at 29 Gemini that's coming up next week on June 8th. So think about that. You're going to get closing arguments from Jupiter and Gemini. So, not just what have you learned with Saturn and Pisces, but Jupiter's been in Gemini for the past year. What have we learned from that? Probably hasn't been that clear to us because it is kind of an incoherent, all over the place, ping pong brain activating placements. Maybe this could be a really good time to take a look at what Jupiter has been teaching you for the past year. Now, as always, where Jupiter is concerned, look for synchronicities. Mercury also likes to play little tricks. So look for syncs, look for art that's showing up or archetypes or signs. If one hit you in this video or any of my videos for that matter, I love to hear about that. But let me know in the comments what keeps showing up for you this week. You got to let me know because I'm dying to know. Okay, so we've hit the point of the show where I talk about how I, as an animist, pagan, astrologer, human being, am going to use the transits of the week. We're talking about this a little early because I want to tell you how you can use the transits of this week. So we're going to get into each one of them because they're all pretty powerful. Mercury entering Gemini forms a new moon on the 26th. Now, that new moon in Gemini is such a powerful opportunity to say, what the hell do I want out of my Gemini parts now that Saturn is gone out of square? And now that I have Jupiter dignified with Mercury, because that has not really happened too much over the past year. What do I mean by that? Mercury rules Gemini. So when Mercury is in Gemini, it's making Jupiter a lot easier to understand. It's adding clarity. It's basically playing host in the Gemini hotel for Jupiter and making Jupiter a lot happier. Now, that only happens when Mercury is dignified or in mutual reception with Jupiter, probably really only in Sagittarius. And that's some technically advanced stuff. But all to say, this is a special opportunity while Mercury is in Gemini, and we got to use it. So for me, I have my Sun and Mercury in Gemini. I am definitely using this new moon to try to figure what the hell Jupiter has been doing to me in my sixth house, in my Sun, in my Mercury. What the hell has been going on with Jupiter here? It truly has not made any fucking sense. When I tell you, Jupiter in Gemini is kind of like the word supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Okay. It means nothing. And somehow it's magical still, and it's a fun time to sing. But what the fuck does it mean? I don't think anyone knows. I have not slept since Jupiter entered Gemini. I haven't been in my body in a year. I've just been strange property. My body is like strange property, and my whole identity is right here, and I can't sleep. I felt it the day Jupiter stationed direct. Any other Geminis, sound off in the comments. I've been hearing from you all year because I've been talking about this. Jupiter transits, particularly for night charts, but also just depending on your natal relationship to Jupiter, they're not always luck and light and manifestation. A lot of times it can bring up really tough topics around belief, and it can be challenging. So, in my inability to sleep and my insomnia, I've Googled many a solution for insomnia, and I found one really powerful technique, which is that you basically work your way through the alphabet, saying whatever word comes to mind, starting with the letter. So every night before I go to bed, I go alleviation, barbaric, catatonic, Deandra, effortless, favorite, graphic, hostile, intense, juvenile, and drift off to sleep. That is the most Jupiter and Gemini thing. Sometimes I have to go through the alphabet 3 times before my brain relaxes, but apparently the sort of absolutely random incoherence can be really powerful in lulling us to sleep. So for me, this new moon is going to be a time where I am going to tell the universe what I want it all to have meant. In my example about my nighttime routine, I am going to tell myself that I have improved my vocabulary and my recall by doing that exercise all year. And all of the Saturnian restriction around my vitality that has been extremely challenging at times, I'm winking at the fourth wall. And I'm like, you know what? I'm in on the joke. You can't pull one over on me because I'm in on it and I want to be. And I'm going to use this new moon to really reclaim a little bit of my Gemini. Now, if you don't have anything in Gemini, that's cool. Think about where Gemini falls in your chart and think about what kind of a new beginning you really want to strike out on with this new moon, because Jupiter is not going to be near enough to be making it crazy, making it play crazy alphabet game, but it will be in Gemini, adding a little supercalifragilisticexpialidocious into the mix. The last transit I really want to talk about using is the Sun Mercury conjunction, or the Mercury cazimi, that's happening at 9 degrees Gemini. That's on May 29th. Now, Mercury cazimis are always incredible times to reach out to the gods or to make yourself receptive to the gods. So, looking for synchronicities, making offerings. I like to do those little meditations where it's like 60-minute meditation, connect with Mercury, connect with Apollo, and I go in and connect with whoever I want. I haven't decided how I'm going to use this one yet. I might be connecting with Jupiter. I might try to connect with Mercury. That has gone hilariously wrong every time I've ever tried it. So maybe I'll try that again. But a Kazemi is also never a bad time for sun stuff. So maybe I'll just reach out to my old reliable Apollo, who I love so much. In the mundane world, Mercury Kazimis are also great times to like send emails or put communications out into the world that you might want to feel a little bit blessed. All right. You know what that sound means. I am done with my coffee, and so we must be done with the show. Keep in mind that this week is a real opportunity for you to lean into what's been happening and to sincerely shift your mindset, like that Fool card. It is subtle, but it could be quite sharp. And how you respond now might mark the difference between a cycle coming to a close and you stepping out into a space of agency, and a spiral kind of repeating itself and you getting trapped in a negative mindset or maybe a doom spiral. So if you're living through this little plot twist, or if you're even sensing one, leave me that comment. Let me know what's emerging in your story, what's coming up for you this week. If you want help making sense of it all, you can always book a reading with me at 9livesastrology.com. If you're craving clarity at those crossroads, I am here to help you read the signs, currently booking for mid to late June. So I'll see you next Monday. And until then, stay sharp, stay curious, stay in on the plot twist. And remember that some of the most powerful stories start after what seems like the most obvious ending. Cheers.